Do you really think you're faster than Billy Hamilton? And I was like, oh! I said, absolutely I am.
On today's episode of the Deer Park Roundtable, I am joined by Amity Phys Ed teacher Callen Fowler. Callen is one of the most passionate advocators of her craft, in this case phys ed, that I have ever seen.
I have to learn from the day before. I'm really a reflective person, so whether it's still through athletics or teaching or like my everyday, like what can I do better now than I did yesterday?
She tells me about a new program she's got going on this year at Amity and why she continues to find innovative ways to up the ante in her classroom.
Roller skating is a challenge, but I also hold our kids to this high standard of like we can do tough things.
Callen's journey is truly incredible. She is the most decorated female track and field athlete in Wilmington College history, and she is a national champion collegiate sprinter. We get into all of that and so much more, so let's get right into it. Welcome to the park, where the stories of our incredible staff and faculty go beyond the classroom. From their passions to their personal journeys, we're diving into what makes our Deer Park community truly unique. This podcast isn't just about their roles as educators, it's about who they are as individuals, the lives they lead, and the impact they make both inside and outside of school walls. This is the Deer Park Roundtable. Callen Fowler, welcome to the Roundtable.
Thank you.
Yeah, so something I do to start these off every single time is a little cheeky question. It just gets the person comfortable, you know. Okay. I have two for you.
All right. Two.
I didn't plan this. Number one, how many of my daughter's clothes do you think belong to you at some point?
I'm gonna say half.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it could be half.
We call them McKenna Fowler originals. So yes. So thank you.
That's fine. You're welcome.
The second question is, do you think that you could beat me in a race right now?
Okay. So funny thing. First answer, yes. But second, you're probably gonna hit this. That was one of my interview questions from Mr. Phillips.
I did not know that. That's hilarious. He asked you.
Not him personally.
Okay.
But he said during my interview, it was intense. Not really intense. I mean, we had Mr. Tudor, we had Mr. Phillips, and he's like, all right, I have a last question for you. And I was like, what is it? He's like, I was looking at your Twitter account, and I was like, oh. I mean, I was like 20-something. I'm like, what's on there? And he had said, I had tweeted, what's his name? Fast guy. Billy Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
And I said that I could beat him in a race. And he's like, do you really think you're faster than Billy Hamilton? And I was like, oh! I said, absolutely I am.
So, obviously, you were at Wilmington College.
I was at Wilmington.
You are a national champion 55-meter dash.
Correct. Dinosaur age. 6.98
seconds. The 55 is crazy because it's all about your start.
It is about your start.
Everything. What goes through your mind? This isn't even an interview. What goes through your mind when you are in the starting blocks of a national championship race?
Jake, hold on. That's like 16 years ago.
All right, take me back.
All right. I want to toot my own horn. Yeah. I never had a false start.
Wow.
So I think like I just really focused in on like what I was doing and that it was just me. But I was really big on like not false starting. So I would kind of replay like what it looks like to go from standing position to like in my block, what I'm going to do as immediately as I hear that gun shoot off. And just like run my race is usually kind of what I did, like run my race and it's just me and the clock.
Yeah, with that quick of a race, you can't be focused on who's next to you because there's no beating.
There's
anybody.
No margin. I was like, all that air is like it's right there. Like it's either I got it or I don't.
I don't think that most normal people understand the preparation that it takes to become an elite athlete like that. And I don't care if it's Division I, Division II, NAI, Division III, which is what Wilmington is. But to be at that level, what does a day look like for, and I'm going to take you back one more
16 years again, right? Maybe more than that.
No, but like what does that look like on a day-to-day basis for an elite?
I'm going to go like through my years. So like freshman year, I was 18. I remember like my first day of practice, outdoor, and I'm like, I got this. Like, I've been running since 7th grade.
Yep.
I know what to do. I didn't know what I was doing. I remember my coach threw us in the weight room with the college football team. And I'm like, I am not lifting anybody's weight in front of any of these boys. And then I like grew to like love being in the weight room because I knew that, you know, lifting plus like eating right and doing all the things, I was getting better.
Yeah.
So it was just like a lot of self-discipline. I am a big cheesecake person. I ate cheesecake all the time in school, and I had to give that up, right? I had to like work for that cheesecake. So I think just like being disciplined with myself, really focused on like why I still wanted to run. I dedicated my last season to my dad. So my dad passed away when I was younger. So my whole senior year, I was like, every race I'm going to run for him. And I feel like that really kept me going. And just knowing like I'm a part of a team, but I'm also individual, but my individual is going to, you know,
help
its way and
push that
help
team
that
forward,
team.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to think that type of regimen and like that has to carry through into your everyday life now. What does that like from a perspective of just even like teaching philosophies and things like that? What does that look like?
I think like that cliche hard work pays off, right? Like every day is different. But I definitely am like, I have to learn from the day before. I'm really a reflective person. So whether it's still through athletics or teaching or like my everyday, I'm like, what can I do better now than I did yesterday or even the previous 10 minutes, right? Yeah. Like right now I've been on this big kick of, okay, I had a really bad 10 minutes here. How can I refocus and get the next chunk of time together? I think being in college and at a small school, like really at a small school, we had 1,200 kids from freshman to senior.
Yeah, right.
That a lot of eyes were on me, and I felt like pressure, but also good pressure in a sense. And I still feel that being in a small district, right? Yeah. All eyes are on me sometimes, and I still have that pressure. It's still good pressure, but it's still like, what can I do better today than I did yesterday? But what can I focus on for the next time?
Yeah, that's great. Last college question. I
thanks.
Do want to.
The cobwebs are like.
This one's actually recent, but I do want to toot your horn one more time here. In 2021, you were inducted into Wilmington's Hall of Fame.
Oh, I was.
And I was doing a little research, and it says the most decorated track and field athlete in Wilmington history.
Intense.
Great, but just what that feeling had to be awesome in 2021. What did that feel like going back and just being recognized for all those accomplishments?
I am one of those weird people, and I kind of blame my mom in a good way. She's always like, be humble. Like, I want you to be proud of yourself, but anything can happen. So when I got this email, it was during COVID, and I was like, oh, I'm nonchalantly getting inducted to the Hall of Fame. Like, I've been inducted to the High School Hall of Fame, and that to me was a big deal. I don't know why. I got this email that I'm inducted into the College Hall of Fame, and I'm just like, meh, whatever. We're going to go in September, do my thing. I was pregnant with Genevieve. I get there, and my phone's blowing up from all my friends. Like, why didn't you let me know that you are getting inducted? And I would have been there. And I was like, oh, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, right? Looking back on it, I'm like, okay, that was a pretty big deal. I should have invited the whole crew. But I think, like, again, growing up as you're just doing it because you love it, not for the accolades, and those just came with because my passion was there. So when I found out I was the most decorated female athlete, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, but someone is probably going to be more decorated than me, right? Like, I had to, unknowingly, I was following someone else, but I was never chasing this person's accomplishment. I don't think I ever thought that. Like, my sister, toot my own horn again. She ran in high school, so we went to high school at the same school. We're 9 years apart. She ran track. She was 100 meter, 200 relays. She set the 100 and 200 meter record. However many years later, her younger sister comes along again. I'm not chasing it. I know it's there.
Some expectations, though.
I break her record, and I was like, yes. But then a girl under me, like 3 years later, broke those records. So, I mean, carrying that into college, like, I knew there were girls ahead of me that performed really well, but I never was like, whether it's good or bad, I'm going to beat that girl. I just was out there because I loved it. So I think just having that passion really fueled me to keep going. And like, I was successful because I was genuinely doing it because I loved doing it.
I have to think that leads you into your current profession, right?
Yeah.
Like that love for fitness and just, obviously to become a physical education teacher, you have to love this.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the path you took, or is that something you didn't know you wanted to do until you did it?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like when I was little, I wanted to be an ice cream truck driver and a firefighter.
Yeah.
My mom squashed the firefighter thing. She worked for Shriners Burns, and she's like, "You're absolutely not going to be a firefighter." So I went into school knowing that I wanted to do something around like wellness and athletics and kids. Yeah. Did I know that I wanted to teach? Not until my junior year, right? So I went in with sports management with a focus on athletic director. Accounting kicked my butt. I was like, okay, numbers are not my thing. I don't know how to equate this.
Mine either.
Okay. I can't do it. So I ended up, I think I still stuck with like sports management, but I ended up doing a small career shadowing into one of the local schools. And I was like, I can do this. Like, I want to be with kids, right? I love the health aspect of it. I love the encouraging your movement for your type. And my advisor was like, have you thought about education? And I was like, no, like not at all. And he's like, you're working with our youth now. You are a current mentor in our college with our Black students. Like, why don't you just dip your foot into it? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I had all of the background for like all of my prereqs were health-based. They were all I had to do was take the education part of it, which set me back another year, but that's fine.
That's all right. You are probably, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody that uses social media like you do, from a not just like networking perspective, but asking questions about what other people are doing. You have this network of phys ed teachers that's really cool online. How did that happen? Was it just something that you kind of came to really easily, or was it something different?
It probably started after Mr. Phillips was like, I was peeping on your Twitter and I was like, oh my gosh, I should probably go from like that chick CM to something more professional. So I created Miss Phys Ed DPU. And with that, it started with, his name is Nick. He is a PE teacher in Illinois. He was the first one to reach out to me. He's like, hey, I see you're a new user. Let's get in contact. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm the only elementary PE teacher. It's hard to pull things out of my head on my own. And I don't think people really realize, like, I can only create so much for our kiddos. Like, I need a professional learning network, and that's where Twitter really helped. So I started with Nick, and then that circle just evolved. And I think I got really big, obviously, during COVID. I now meet with another guy named Nate every Thursday. So we meet every Thursday morning at 9 to kind of, bounce ideas off of each other. He's come down here with his family. We've hung out before, right? We went to the Illinois convention last year together to meet the people that we met on Twitter. I was kind of fangirling there. But it's also to like showcase what we're doing here in Deer Park, whether they see what's going on or like families here or local teachers, like to highlight what our kids are doing.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think it's an easy stereotype, common misconception of like, oh, the phys ed, like, oh, we'll just throw them out there and play dodgeball. There's a lot of work to this.
There's a lot of work.
And I think it's been cool to watch you kind of showcase that on social media. But you have a new one coming up this year that I think is going to be pretty cool, right?
I hope so.
Tell me a little bit about it.
This came from same thing as like Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Our Illinois people were like, skating is it? Like, and I'm really big on creating those lifelong moments, right? I got a lot of flack on, oh, I can't believe you're not doing dodgeball, right? I say that all the time. I will die on that hill. We're not doing it. Like, humans are not targets. There are so many other things that we can throw at that are not your classmates. And we're smarter than that, right? But I also want to focus on those lifelong movers. I'm not only teaching to our athletic kids, right? Not every kid's going to go to junior high and play football and basketball, but they're going to have their body their entire life. And I want them to be comfortable in that movement. So So basically, my friends on Twitter, social media, peer pressure, a lot of them are doing like Ride Your Bike to School Day.
Yeah.
You know, these movements that are going to encourage our kids to move. And Skate Time program was one of those. And I had been teetering on it for a while. Like, do I want to do this? How can I do it? Oh, we got this new gym floor. Like, can I make this happen?
Yeah.
So I reached out to Skate Time last year and I said, hey, it's May. My brain is fried, but I really think I want to bring skating to Amity.
Yeah.
And Jason, that was our coordinator, has been gung-ho on it. He's like, you know what? You're a K6 building. Why don't you do all K6? I'm like, absolutely no. So we kind of went back and forth. I met with Jay, and I was like, Jay, I want to do this. He's like, I think it's a great idea. I forgot about it. Come like July, I'm like, Jay, remember when I was crazy back last year? Like, I want to do this skating thing. He's like, all right, I think it's a good idea, Callen. Let's go. So I called Jason and I said, hey, do you remember what grades I suggested? He's like, I know you mentioned like 3rd and 4th, but I think you can handle 1 through 5. And I'm like, okay, let's do 1 through 5. I think our kids are excited. I think our parents are excited. Some are kind of like, this girl is crazy, but I'm like, not all of our kids get exposed to that. Like, I didn't get exposed to roller skating. I was roller blading. Roller skating is a challenge, but I also hold our kids to this high standard of like, we can do tough things.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about how it's set up. Like, it's curriculum based. Our kids have to test out of an area. You can be the best skater in the world, but you have to showcase your skills.
Yeah.
I think day 1, day 2 are going to be like, what did I do? Day 5, I'm sure I'm like, oh, this is great. Let's do it again. But I want to see our kids like face adversity. Like, I know they come into my room with all this confidence that I can shoot and I can dribble and I can do that. But I also like to see them try new things and then work on those small growths.
Yeah. I think one of the cool things about kind of the way you've taken this on is that mantra of like, we can do tough things. Like, for a kid who thinks they're going to walk into phys ed class and, oh, I can shoot and dribble and throw a football. Now we might take you out of that comfort zone. And is that something you've really kind of put a focus on? Is like not just, the activity, but like becoming something that's challenging for everybody.
And it's like getting out of those non-traditional sports, right? They're always like, oh, can we do this? I'm like, yeah, but you can also do that at recess. And or I see you out there on the football field. Like, we don't really need to work on those. Do I incorporate it how I can in the classroom? Yes. Is it every single day? No, because in my place of learning, I want them to learn about themselves in places that they might not have that chance to. So it's hard, but I'm going to die on that hill too.
I love it. One other thing that you've done, you'll have to tell me how many years you've done it, but is the Girls on the Run program. So that's something that's obviously really cool. Just tell me a little bit about Girls on the Run.
I did start my journey or stint with that at the charter school that I was at before Deer Park. It was a low income school. Started with like 4 coaches. I think we had about 10 girls. And I'm like, I like this. Like, I'm a runner and I like it. But I also like the principle of it. Like, just finding your niche for something and then setting your goal to get there. I did it, I think, my first or second year at Deer Park.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Took a couple years off, like due to like maternity leave and then COVID. And then I jumped back in. So I think this is consistently my 4th or so year with your lovely wife, which I love her. And I think just having like an influx of like different girls that I wouldn't expect to be on the team, And I think that Girl on the Run part kind of steers girls away. And I was like, I wish we could change this name to Girl on the Move, right? Like, they're not all running. Some are walking, but we're just moving, but it's curriculum based, right? We go through like how to find healthy relationships, talking about your feelings, exploring different ways to be just a well-rounded person in the community, but also setting goals to do that unachievable thing of completing a 5K, which for most is the most they've ever ran. It might be the furthest they're ever going to run, but just being a part of that journey and then also having them a part of my journey too.
Yeah, I have found it very cool to see, like, it isn't just anybody can train and go out and run a 5K. It's about so much bigger than that. And just seeing, and I know Kelly has talked about it, she loves it as well. And just building those relationships with kids in a situation that isn't inside of the classroom.
Normal. And it's like, And I've learned so much like from my girls while they're in class, but then outside, and I get to see both sides. And then so many girls are like, I'm so excited to see you again. I get to see you 3 times today. And I'm like, you do get to see me a lot. But also seeing how well they work together. Because some of those girls are in the same grade level, but they might not hang out together.
Yeah.
Some of those girls are in 3rd grade and some are in 5th grade. So they're not going to interact, but just seeing them. The first day is kind of like, I'm going to hang out with who I know, but then now they're like evolving and asking questions, and I want to be with this person, and or like I see this person needs help. It's really awesome to see that. And I just, I'm so excited.
So you have 2 daughters as well. Keeping up with after school, girls on the run, all these lessons that you're doing, bringing in these new programs, kind of what is your strategy for keeping it all together?
Remember that 10-minute thing I was talking about, right? Like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. That's funny. I just had this conversation with someone that I think has 1 kid, and I was like, before I got pregnant, like before I even taught, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to have a kid and then go home and still tend to that child after tending to everyone else. So we 2 years into my teaching career, like we got, I guess longer than that, whatever, got pregnant, and then my whole mindset changed. So it's kind of like I clock in for one, I clock out, I clock in for the other. And I still feel like this sense of like love for my Amity kids, but I still have an outpouring for my kiddos. I've gotten much better at like leaving work at work and or sacrificing to wake up earlier to get things done. But I try to just really separate work from home. Yeah. So that way I can be the best teacher that I can be and still growing, but also still be the best mom to my kids. Yeah. Right. So I'm learning and they love it. McKenna's got a little fan club and Genevieve has her crew of kids. So when we go places, it's like, oh, can I take your kid? I'm like, absolutely. Yes, you can. Yeah. And I will give you a cat card for that. So,
just to close it out, first of all, this has been a blast. It's always so much fun to hang out with you and just talk sports and talk everything else. But just to kind of close it out, talk to me just like from a fitness and goals and that kind of perspective. What are you instilling in these kids? What are you trying to teach them day in and day out?
Just that your body is your body, right? We're all going to find something that we love, but I want them to know at the end of the day, this one capsule that you have, you only get one body and to take care of it. Find what you're good at and stick with it, but also challenge yourself to go outside of that area because you're going to learn so much more about yourself. You're going to meet new people. I'm so big on social interaction. So I try to ask my kids, you may not have liked this activity, but what did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about others? What did you see in yourself that you didn't know that you had? Again, it's that reflective coming out. I do a lot of things and I'm like, oh, that was awful. I don't ever do it again. But I met someone new, right? I learned that maybe I'm not the best at ballet, but I'm challenging myself because I love my body and I love feeling good, right? And just to love yourself as a whole person. So I think we need a lot of that right now, starting with ourselves before we can branch out to others.
Fantastic. Yeah. Callen, thank you so much.
Awesome.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for being a part of it.
Yes, that was fun.